Okay, good morning, everyone.
As our land disappears, we have no choice but to become the world's first digital nation. Our land, our ocean, our culture are the most precious assets of our people. And to keep them safe from harm, no matter what happens in the physical world, we'll move them to the cloud. Islands like this one won't survive rapid temperature increases, rising sea levels, and droughts, so we'll recreate them virtually. Piece by piece, we'll preserve our country, provide solace to our people, and remind our children and our grandchildren what our home once was. Safe from harm, no matter what happens in the physical world, we'll move them to the cloud. Islands like this one won't survive rapid temperature increases, rising sea levels, and droughts, so we'll recreate them virtually. Piece by piece, we'll preserve our country, provide solace to our people, and remind our children and our grandchildren what our home once was.
Oh, stop. I hear your voice. I hear your voice. But the buzzing stopped. If I click default.
And since they are takes part in the outcome, by doing that, every our students will concept of personal development, they can become thought leaders of tomorrow. So we are talking about thought leaders of tomorrow, thought leaders of tomorrow, to understand that there is no that, and we are responsible to ensure those
As our land our land, our ocean, our culture are the most precious assets of our people. And to keep them safe from harm, no matter what happens in the physical world, we move them to the cloud. Islands like this one won't survive rapid temperature increases, rising sea levels, and droughts. So we'll recreate them virtually. These five years will preserve our country, provide solace to our people, and remind our children and our grandchildren what our home once was. Only considered global efforts will ensure that Tuvalu does not move permanently online to disappear forever from the physical plane. Without a global conscience and a global commitment to our shared well-being, we may soon find the rest of the world joining us online as their lands disappear.
Okay, guys.
Yep. So I think this can happen to any country, not just Tuvalu, which is a country in the Pacific Ocean. So and on a larger scale, we scan for broader directions, and so we actually adopted five of the United Nations Sustainability Goals, and as you can see, we put climate action as the focus among all the five that we have selected, and this will actually allow our why we chose these five is that because we feel that they are relevant and meaningful for our students as they journey on in their journey to become thoughtful leaders.
Control the camera. You control the camera.
So in short, we have a certain framework that we use to actually design our programs. And I have put it in a pictorial form as well in case the wording is just too much to read. So as you can see, it's like a house where you have this overarching care, choice, and agency as the guideline. And then we have our different programs. What we are trying to achieve is that our students will become aware of certain things and then they do take certain actions and eventually they themselves become the advocate. So as you can see, the progression from the programs to eventually the maker education leader and the science ambassador. So these are the people, they become the advocate who will talk or rather run spearhead certain programs in school to drive the objective that we set out to achieve. So at the start of this year, we have established two groups of students, the maker education leaders as well as the science ambassadors to actually help us run in various programs. So in our school, we provide a lot of opportunity for students to exercise their leadership, okay, to have the platform to try out. It's okay for them to fail, right? They just reflect upon it and then they improve and then they gain confidence and eventually having that choice to actually doing something and that's give them the confidence and eventually they become an advocate themselves. So as such, without further ado, I will show you some of the pictures of the student actions. And these are the teachers and the school staff who actually ran the program for outside of the school program. So we have a lot of programs conducted outdoor and not just in the classroom itself. So this is our maker education leaders. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, our maker education leaders, because we are STEM ALP, so we also allow our students to do certain things. So these are our science ambassadors who are building the canopy for our race bed. So our race bed, I'm not sure whether you guys are there. I think at the community centers, they also have race bed where they allow the residents to achieve plant. Okay, that is to achieve our Singapore Green Plan 2030. So in our school, we also have this race bed that are constructed by our own teachers, right? And then the students are actually helping to build this raised bed to protect the plant from the insects and stuff like that. And then the students during the curriculum, science curriculum, they also come and plant, and then they do some kind of measurement and data taking. So actually, it's not just like a classroom lesson. You actually go outdoor and then you learn through the authentic context of learning. Okay, so these are some of the features, and then you can see that. So they are trying to test whether they have any insect they bite them if they're inside the net itself. Then our maker education leaders, our maker education leader drive the innovation culture in the school. So we expose them to various jobs in the industry. So we just recently brought them to A stars under the advanced manufacturing department in A stars that they have established. So this is where we actually learn additive manufacturing, 3D printing. In our school, we also have 3D printing in the school where the students are the one running the place, and then they have to teach other students. And our students themselves also can actually print out certain parts, and it doesn't have to be school project. They can use the quota to do something, for example, for their project or their own personal devices and stuff like that. So that's under our maker education leaders program. And of course, we also expose them to MAF. I'm not sure you know about MAF. They are the Singapore Aviation Fellowship. So that's where they come in to teach our students about aerodynamics, about plane, what kind of thing pilots actually have to do. So I hope this will give you some ideas, just a very short one about what we have in Swiss under Swiss Applied Learning Program. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rasmi, for helping our audience better understand how ALP is carried out in our school. Now, let's welcome Madam Satya, the HOD of Total Curriculum, to share with us further on the LLP curriculum. Madam Satya, please.
Um, right. Hi. So my name is Madam Satya, okay, and I'm in charge of what we call the Learning for Life program. Okay, every school in Singapore has an ALP and LLP. Okay, but it's up to us to design what our ALP and LLP is like. Okay, based on the needs of our students. Okay, so for our school, you notice a lot of talk. I mean, like I think when Mr. Rexy was speaking just now, you heard him talk about leadership. Okay, so leadership is a key focus in our school, and so the LLP is also doing the same thing. Okay, as in ultimately, whatever path we provide for the students, we are developing them as leaders, as thoughtful leaders in this school. Okay, so by the time they leave us, they will be thoughtful leaders. So Okay, so what is the LLP program? LLP program, applied learning program, focuses on applying learning. Okay, and generally it tends to be more hands-on, science-based. Okay, so for LLP, it's really about life skills. Okay, so what we do is we provide opportunities for students to pick up important life skills. And these are the dispositions we want them to have. We want them to have self-leadership. We want them to be able to collaborate. Okay, and we want them to have a sense of purpose. When you lead, what are you leading for? Is it for personal glory or is it for serving other people? So in our school, we believe strongly in service, right? Just like ALP talk about sustainability, there's always that sense of looking outside, okay, the environment and being what we call caring citizens. Okay, so that is a fundamental brand of our leadership journey in our school. Okay. So just like ALP, we also look at our program using these two design focuses. We try to get the students to be aware, move into action, and then they advocate. Advocate means they say this is what I believe in, right? This is what we should do. So they have a stand, right? And so we give them, when we design, we try to model the care that should go into anything that they are doing, and then we provide some choice so that they have agency. Agency means when we give them the choice, then they feel, okay, this is my decision, I own it. Okay, so this is the way we try to design it, of course, in an age appropriate manner. Okay. So the programs that I want to talk to you about for LLP, okay, these are the three programs. I think you see there are global perspectives, values in action, and leadership, student leadership. Okay, so these three make up what we call the LLP. So there are three sub-programs inside this large thing called the Learning for Life program. Because all these programs teach certain life skills. Okay, in a nutshell, if you look at the global perspective program, it's really looking at the thinking part. Okay, how do you think? Because leaders must think in a certain way, right? You can all be leaders, but
please, to the driver, the vehicle number SLE292E, kindly move the vehicle you are blocking.
Okay.
Could the driver, the vehicle number SLE292E, kindly remove your vehicle you are blocking another vehicle.
Okay, right. So the global perspective program looked at the thinking, the way leaders think. Okay, values in action give them opportunities to show care. And finally, the leadership program gives them skills to organize and plan and execute things. Okay, so all this combined is what we call leadership. You must have the thinking, the caring, and the leading elements. Okay, so what is GP? Okay, GP are weekly lessons that students have in the lower set curriculum. Okay, so every child that comes in here, this is a school-based curriculum, not found in any other school in Singapore. Okay, so it's designed by the teachers of this school because we wanted to teach them ethical thinking. Okay, we wanted to teach them how to problem solve, okay, forward thinking, and we wanted to teach them global thinking. Okay, so about things like diversity, how to respect other cultures and things like that. Okay, because the world is now shrunk, okay, you really need to be able to work with different people. So what we do is we have weekly lessons, and our weekly lessons we call this we call EFG skills. We have designed them ourselves. Okay, so this one that you're looking at is perspective taking, moral reasoning, right? And this is positive thinking. Okay, and then we have problem solving. We've got I think this one is questioning assumptions and cross-cultural communication skills. So there are, all these are very detailed, okay, because we want to train them a little bit how to think, not what to think, right? So we let the students develop their final viewpoints, but we give them a scaffold for how you can question assumptions, how you can take perspective, how you can use cross-cultural communication skills. So these are weekly lessons in Sec 1 and 2. So the lessons are embedded within certain themes like inclusivity, like multiculturalism, okay, in Sec 2, and then also migrant society because in Singapore we are very, very diverse. So we want to talk about the issues that come up as a result of these changes in our environment. And then finally, in Sec 3, we have something called the Social Action Forum, or we call it for short the conference. Okay, this is, we designed this based on the Model United Nations Conference, but we made it more local, right? And the entire level is actually either participants or organizers here. Okay, so what they do is they talk about certain issues, and the issues are, okay, maybe I'll skip this one. This one is actually a lesson, okay? Okay, this is a lesson. Okay, so this is a role play. This is an example of a lesson in the GP classroom. Okay, we got the students to actually, ask questions. If you meet someone of a different culture, you don't understand certain things about what they're wearing, for example, how do you show curiosity in a respectful way? So they learn to frame questions, and then the rest of the students help to moderate, okay, to see whether they know how to do this. And it's okay if they make some mistakes. We discuss and we try to refine. Okay, what they do. These are reflections. After activities, they are reflections. Okay, these are on Padlet. Okay, what the students have written and some comments by the teacher, right? So that we talk about what they learned from this whole experience. Not all the lessons are so hands-on. Some are a little bit more cognitive. Okay, so it's a combination. And then we have the conference that I was mentioning just now. So this is by students for students. Okay, so by leaders for leaders. So by the time they are in Sec 3, they focus on two of the skills a little bit more: perspective taking and problem solving. Okay, so they are really trying to solve very pertinent issues around that. So, for example, food security, right? They really look at how do you make food security accessible to people of every SES. So these are like larger issues about things happening around them. And the students actually, if you look at the picture, you see that they're advocating. Okay, they work in groups. They represent certain stakeholders. Okay, certain agencies, and then from that position, they communicate their stand. There's usually some kind of debate in class and things like this. So this happens usually in the middle of the year. It's a 2-day activity, and they plan for it. It's really very much student run. Okay. This one is on digital citizenry, and you can see that they're trying to think about how they're going to present what they need to, what their stand is. All right. The last component of the GP program is actually what we call external competitions and conferences. So these are for the select group of students who are very, 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 they're already very aware, they're doing very well they're cognitively, and they need a stretch. So we let them go for competitions like destination imagination, okay, future problem solving. Now, generally, we do have a special program for the top 10% of every level. Okay, so these are for them. But we also do open up to certain students who may be interested in that particular competition per se. Okay. So I'm going to move a little faster. Okay, so this one is a student's reflection on how they felt that the talent program, okay, like for example, the conference actually helped to develop their voice, make them a bit more confident about sharing their opinions in class and things like that. Okay, the next component is a values in action program. Okay, this one I think all schools have. For us, what we do, this is for example our cohort program. All our programs have a tier 1, that means everybody goes through it. Tier 2 is is more like well, as a student, I want to do certain things, values in action. So we call it student initiated program, and so then I initiate it. So this one is an example of a cohort program. The reason why we do this, Sec 1, and then for Sec 2, we weave it into ALP. Okay, we do this because everybody will learn certain skills about how to do a values in action project. Okay, which means if I want to do something to serve the community, show gratitude, can be anything, all right, then I would know how to do that. Okay, so this is, for example, an example of an SIP program. Okay, we know that this area is a red cluster, so the students wanted to raise awareness about avoiding dengue. Okay, so then they go and propose how they're going to do this, and they go to the neighborhood, right, to raise awareness. So these are things they design on their own, of course, with the teacher mentor to ask the reflection questions so that they can design it. Okay, and the last part is the student leadership program. Okay, so under this, it basically means it's a program that ensures all students have the skills to lead. Okay, so you notice that my tagline there is opportunities for all, right? So it basically means we don't force the kids, but we try to give them opportunities at various levels, from the class all the way to student council, right? So there are opportunities for every child as long as they are ready and willing. Okay, so there are 3 tiers of leadership. Okay. Okay, so if you look at, we counted the number of leadership points, so we have like about more than 1,000 positions in the school. Okay, because every position is an opportunity. So we are not a school that believes, oh, you must be a student counselor to be a leader. Okay, everyone is a leader. Okay, right now, here, what can you do? Right? So, and we try to craft every possibility. Even taking care of cleanliness in a class is a leadership role. Okay, so with all of that, we have enough opportunities, and then we of course give them feedback and help them on their journey. Okay, I've got more pictures, but there is a LLP showcase at GP room, and the ALP one is in the ALP room. So if you want to know more, you can actually go there and ask more questions. Okay, so that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Satya, for the sharing. We hope that you have had a better understanding of the ALP and LLP curriculum in our school. Without further ado, I shall now open the Q&A session.
So the earlier portion was on ALP. So ALP stands for Applied Learning Program. Then in Swiss, our applied learning programs. So I just use this slide to summarize. Yeah. So in Swiss Cottage, similar to LLP, ALP, we have our tier 1 programs where all the levels, Sec 1, they go through interdisciplinary programs. So in this interdisciplinary program, recently, like last month, we just went to Jurong Lake, where they will do water testing and soil testing, and then with the data collected, they also do a survey and connect it with the impact of human activities on the environment. So that is for all the Sec 1s, they have to go through that. Then for Sec 2, our students are doing these things, what we call the project dreammakers. Project dreammakers students are learning about block coding, not having to write a script coding, but just a block coding, but then they design something that actually based on the theme on climate change. So they can do design thinking cycles together with the block base, and then they come up with a product, and then they showcase their product. So these are our tier 1. Then our tier 2, we have what we call the science ambassadors and also the maker education leaders. The science ambassadors, they are the one that drive the different programs in the schools. They are the one that advocate. So for example, we have the raised bed garden at the site. We also have the greenhouse in the school, and we have this thing called the veggie pot, where you actually have an elevated raised bed. So these are the places where students actually go and plant, and then the produce, they actually harvest it, and then they give back to the school stall aunties and uncles. And then we also, when we have our long-term plan is to increase our capacity so that we can actually give to our neighbor around the school. Okay, to give back to the community and not just within the school itself. And then we have our greenhouse for our students to actually do some kind of research. For example, you realize that, oh, can I plant a certain plant in the Singapore climate? Something like that. So that is for science ambassadors. Then we have our maker education leaders, our tier 2 program. Those are the specialized group. They are exposed to STEM, so they are exposed to different things. So they actually were taught how to do 3D modeling and how to use 3D printers so that they can print out. And then we have the 3D pen. So later when you go to the ALP room, you will see the 3D printers, the 3D pen there, and then we have the 3D art. And now we have just taught, we are going to teach them how to do the epoxy resin art. Not sure how many of you know epoxy resin art. You know, when you go to like airport, they have very nice glassy looking plastic. Then you have some orchid flower inside or what. That is epoxy resin art, where you can actually freeze something. As I have this orchid flower with me for 20 years, and then with the Singapore flag. It's like, and it lasts for a very long time. So we actually expose them to different kind of skill. We upgrade their skills. So eventually, when they are so capable in all this, they run the programs for their schoolmates. Yeah, and then so the purpose is they become the one advocating for what matters to them. They feel like, okay, recently they actually do this joint VIA program where they actually combine the change maker with the science ambassadors and the maker education leaders. They create some product, they print out, they draw some product, they sold in school, and then the science ambassador, they create a thing called a seed bomb, and then the potted plant, and then they raise the fund and donate to the charity. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing we actually expose our students under the ALP program. Yeah. Thank you. Any more questions about ALP or LLP? Because the presentation is very short, 10 minutes, so we just give you the big one. But when you ask questions, we can give you more details.
Sorry.
Oh, the EQ. Okay? So EQ is our exposure, extension, and envision. So under exposure, we have our project dream makers where we expose our students to block coding. Extension is our Earth program. Earth stands for environmental assessment and relevant to humankind. That's where they do the water testing and soil testing, and then they connect it to our impact on the environment. And then we have our envision, where we are talking about the forward-looking. So where we hope our students to able. So the idea is how can we prepare our students to be future ready. So we are actually leveling up their skill set so that once they go out there, they are more prepared to handle with the kind of mortality in the society nowadays, right? Sometimes you realize that certain skill set become irrelevant overnight. So there must be something that you should have so that they can continue. I think right now grit is like on the top of the chart in terms of the skill set that every companies or country want their citizens to have. Yeah. So that's these three programs.
Okay, just so I got a question about whether these are examinable, kind of subjects. These are not subjects, okay? These are programs in the school, and the programs are there for all students to go through because they are very important skill sets that they need to have. Very much related to 21st century skills and workplace skills. So while they have their regular lessons in subjects, these are as essential.
The school work we collaborate with outside, the outside company to train the students to how to use this, or is it kind of legal, like for example, do some project with them with
Yep. So earlier I showed you the slide on MAF. That is about aviation. So
just a part, just like just a program.
yeah, just a one or two. So we partner with different companies or industry, depending on whether the industry offer what is relevant to our students. Yeah. So that is So it could be like next year we might not be partnering with the same group of people because we realize that we want to move on to something else. Then we look for different companies to actually come in.
It's just like 1 to 2 months. It's not a long period of time.
We have like project or competitions. There are certain competition last throughout the whole year. So like Science Center, we have one program that they have to go through for 6 months long, and then it's like every now and then they go to work with people out there who are actually the like engineers and stuff like that. Yeah. So that one is for selected students because it's a long term commitment.
Sorry, just now you mentioned that ALP is for all students. Does it mean all the tier 1 and tier 2 programs that you have, every student will eventually go through them in their 4 years?
Yes. So when they come in Sec 1 and Sec 2, Sec 1 and Sec 2, they go through the program together. Only when they go to Sec 3 and 4, if they are still interested, then they join our Tier 2 program, either become the maker education leaders or the science ambassadors. But nowadays, we already started recruiting in Sec 1 to become science ambassador or maker education leaders.
These are on top of their CCAs.
Yes.
On top of their, if let's say they are in student council, then it's on top of their student council.
So our Tier 1 program is part of the curriculum. Yeah, so it's not like, I have to stay back after school to do something else. So it's not on top. It's part of the curriculum. Only when it comes to Tier 2, that is when you are actually having to do some kind of activities, training workshop or duty after school. But that's why it's voluntary. So only if you wish to pursue, then you go join Tier 2. Or else you just stay at Tier 1.
As long as they have passion for it,
Yes.
they sign up for it, they will be accepted into the program. Or will there be just for a select group of people?
We want to be inclusive, so we no longer look at results. It's about passion, and you really want to pursue it. Then we will support.
So yeah, in this case, so for those apply DSA to the leadership, will they be immediately like assigned to some important role for this ALP?
No, we don't do it that way, but I think we take note, we actually observe how they are functioning in school first. And then if they apply through DSA, then we take note of the fact that this child may have potential and provide the opportunity first. Right? Because their orientation to the secondary school life is also important.
So what's the condition and criteria to apply the DSA to the leadership? Like, do they have to a lot of participate in the?
I think we will ask questions during the interview. I think when you ask the criteria, I think probably some leadership experience in primary school will help. I think the students who apply through DSA generally have a portfolio of some experiences. I think what would help them a little bit more here would also be, some PIA kind of experience, service related experience. But I think in most primary schools, that one will not be so sophisticated, right? I think generally what they do is they do prefectorial board and things like that, or their class monitor, so we ask some situational questions during the interview to see how the students respond to situations. So from there we have a sense of whether the child, has certain qualities of a leader. So, some self-leadership, some, able to work with people, interested in the things around them. So it's not just looking at results.
Thank you, parents and students. This will be the end of this segment already. Please feel free to continue to take a look around the school. Yes, thank you.
Ah.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Testing, testing. One, two, three. Okay, hello, hello.
Really? There are a lot of people bought the ticket.
Can you hear me? Hello, 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 hello.
I'll speak from there.
Testing, testing. One, two, three.
Clear.
Clear?
Clear.
Okay. Let me speak to the answer. When I speak like this, can they still hear me?
Speak.
Hello, hello,
Not that clear.
hello,
Speak, speak.
hello. Testing, testing. One, two,
Clear,
three.
clear. But my voice can hear though.
You can hear your own voice. Okay,
Yeah.
then it's don't speak during the first stream. Wait, let me try. Testing. Okay, yeah, I can hear us. Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
When you were listening, right? Was it on Zoom or was it on Insta? Did you see it? Okay. Look at it again.
Testing.
Just do.
Testing, testing. One, two, three.
Yeah, it's clear. It's on Insta 360.
Okay.
It's really have to be absolute quiet.
Yeah, no talking at all. Okay, mute it, please. test for a bit?
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
morning, parents and students. Welcome to Swiss Cottage Openhouse 2022. It has been 3 years since we last had a face-to-face open house. We are indeed honored to open our doors to welcome you to our school. This venue, the sale room, as we name it, is where leadership skills are developed. It's also here that we'll be presenting to you our applied learning program, ALP for short, as well as our learning for life program. Thereafter, there will be a Q&A session where you may raise any questions. Without further ado, let's put our hands together to welcome the subject head of ALP, Mr. Rexmi, to share with us on the school's applied learning program. Mr. Rexmi, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Small group of people, but I still need to use the mic because we are keep doing on a YouTube live. So thank you so much for taking your time to find out more about Swiss Applied Learning Program, or later on I just say Swiss ALP. Okay? So I will be briefly sharing with you how do we decide our program to prepare our students to be future ready, and perhaps if time permits, I'll also share with you some of the pictures of the student in action. So in Swiss, we want to nurture our students to be thoughtful leaders. So ALP play a part in contributing to the outcome. And how do we contribute to the outcome is by believing that if we educate our students about sustainable development, then they can become thoughtful leaders of tomorrow. Not just leaders of tomorrow, but thoughtful leaders of tomorrow who understand that there's only one planet and we are responsible of taking care of it as well for our own survival. So I added this slide just a few hours back because the news came out this morning, and I thought that the message given in this video assure us that what we are focusing on is right in preparing our students to be thoughtful leaders. So I just play this clip. It's about 1 minute long. The sound, hopefully the sound is loud enough now.
As our land disappears, we have no choice but to become the world's first digital nation. Our land, our ocean, our culture are the most precious assets of our people. And to keep them safe from harm, no matter what happens in the physical world, we'll move it to the cloud. Islands like this one won't survive rapid temperature increases, rising sea levels, and droughts, so we'll recreate them virtually. Piece by piece, we'll preserve our country, provide solace to our people, and remind our children and our grandchildren what our home once was. Only considered global effort can ensure that Tuvalu does not move permanently online and disappear forever from the physical plane. Without a global conscience and a global commitment to our shared well-being, we may soon find the rest of the world joining us online as their lands disappear.
Yeah, so as you can see, it's a small country, only 12,000 citizens in terms of population, and they are disappearing if nothing is done. So, and I'm sure we all understand it's not just them who are experiencing or facing the effect. Okay? Many more countries if we don't do something about it. So, on a larger scale, when we scan for a broader direction, we adopted 5 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So, and how do we come up with these? Because these 5 goals, we feel that they are relevant and meaningful for our students as they journey on in their journey to become thoughtful leaders. So when we design our programs, we use the 3A frameworks together with the care, choice, and agency. So I actually transferred the words into more pictorial form. So you can look at it like a house with the roof where you have this care, choice, and agency. That's when our teachers, when we are designing program, we look at the care guidelines and we want to provide our students with a choice. And hopefully with the choice, they develop the capacity to act on something. That's when the agency will come in. And with our program, we want to start from awareness, then they go on to be doing action, and eventually they become the advocate who actually drive certain programs that are important, and also because those programs matters to the student themselves. So at the start of this year, we have formally established 2 groups of students. One is the maker education leaders, and the other one the science ambassadors. So this group of students help us to run various programs under ALP, and these programs help to benefit their peers and at the same time also giving back to the community. So without further ado, I will just show you some of the pictures and then I will also explain to you what is happening in the pictures. So for example, this one is our teachers and school staff who are actually helping out with the program we call EARTH program. EARTH stands for Educational Assessment, Environmental Assessment and Relevant to Humankind. That's when we actually have our students go outside and not just in the classroom to learn, to apply what they have learned in the classroom in the real world context. So this is what I'm talking about. So under Swiss ALP, we actually have different tiers. So tier 1 is like cohort based. So this is for our Sec 1. So at the end of the year, which is the post-exam activities, we call it regrow. We actually will bring our student out to Jurong Lake, where they actually conduct water testing and soil testing. And then we also partner with the geography unit. So this is where the interdisciplinary collaboration that comes in. And when they do the water testing and soil testing with the data, and then the geography side will talk about the impact of human activities. Then they actually can link the connection between what they have gathered from the data and what are the people doing or how they spend their time at Jurong Lake. Do they correlate? How do we impact the environment around us? Our tier 1 for ALP, we call it the Project Dreammakers. This is for our Sec 2s. So our Sec 2 cohorts, Project Dreammakers, because we also a STEM ALP, so we don't just focus solely on science, but also the technology, engineering, and mathematical aspects. So here, this is where the student will learn about design thinking cycles, and they also learn about block coding. So there, I think you have heard about microbit, Arduino. So over here we use M5 Go. It's something that is after our review we have done Arduino microbit, and then we realized that some of our students who are not so inclined in coding, they don't find it so interesting because you don't get the feedback. Whereas this one, you have an LCD display and some of the sensors. So the moment you input certain command, it actually gives you the output. So it's more engaging, and that allows us to give the student what they need to learn is the computational thinking behind it rather than get stuck at a technical aspect. So with this design thinking and the computational thinking and the M5 Go, they actually at the end they build their prototype and then they have the opportunity to showcase their product to the rest of the school. Okay, so now I will show you tier 2. For our tier 2 programs, so as you have heard just now, we have two groups of students. One group is the science ambassadors, the other group is our maker education leaders. So our maker education leaders, they are the ones responsible in driving the innovation culture among the students and staff. So in order for them to be the one advocating, leading the change in the school, we actually equip them with the skill sets. We have trained them in our 3D modeling using Tinkercad and Shaper 3D. And then we also train them how to use the 3D printers. So we actually have purchased 3D printers for the student to actually use it. We have 3D pen, and then we are upgrading them with this epoxy resin art. I'm not sure whether you're aware of epoxy resin art, that those clear plastic with orchid flower embedded inside that can keep for many, many years. Yeah, so with that, it's like they are able to do many things, and with that skill set, they start to think how can they contribute back to the community. So this is the workshop where we expose them, we bring them to A-STARS, the advanced manufacturing sector, so they can see that, oh, actually, if I learn about this, there are certain jobs out there that I can actually join when I graduate. Then under our science ambassadors, so our science ambassadors, this is, they are actually building a canopy. Canopy is to cover over plants and raised bed. I think if you have seen some of the community centers, they actually have this structure, raised bed, where the resident can actually do some kind of planting. So this raceway was constructed by our very own Swiss teachers. Yeah, we will spend about 1 week to construct it on our own to save money for the school. So the student use this place to plant. So during the curriculum, science curriculum, instead of learning about plants in textbook, they actually go out there, plant the actual plant, and do some kind of measurement. So the learning become richer. And the produce, so the science ambassador also do some kind of planting, and then the produce, when they harvest it, they give back to the and canteen store aunties and uncles. But in the long run, we hope to increase our capacity such that we can actually give back to the community, not just within the school. So our most recent BIA, we have a collaboration between science ambassador, maker education leaders, and change maker in the school, where we have this joint BIA. So they sold some of the products, the plant of the plant, they created it, and then the maker education leaders, they created some keychain, they designed it and they print out and they sold it in the school, and then the proceed, they actually used it to donate to the charity. So that's how they actually apply what they learn, then have and give back to the community. Okay, so this is the end of my part. I pass the time over to Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Rasmi, for helping our audience better understand how ALP is carried out in our school. Now, let's welcome Madam Satya, HOD of Total Curriculum, to share with us further on the Learning for Life program. Madam Satya, please.
Thank you. Okay.
It's alright.
All right. I'm here to talk about the Learn for Life program. Okay. In Swiss Cottage, ready? Right. In Swiss Cottage, every time we do something, we always think about the thoughtful leader vision that we have. Okay. So every student who walks through the journey in Swiss Cottage, we hope to bring them closer to this vision of thoughtful leader. So LLP, okay, is something that exists in all schools, just like ALP, but every school does it differently. Okay, so you are looking for a secondary school for your child. I think you want to also think about your child's strengths and inclinations, and then decide whether this is the place for the child. We're very proud of the two programs that we have. Okay, so for LLP, what is the focus? ALP, I think, focuses on the learning aspect of it, but in Swiss Cottage, we still make the slant very much thoughtful leadership. For LLP, we're really looking at 21st century skills, okay, life skills that the child should pick up. And we do this by actually fronting our leadership excellence goal. Okay, so every student a leader, right? So we call it the thoughtful leadership program. And in this program, through this program, we try to do what do you call it, programs intentionally in such a way that students develop self-leadership. They become people who can collaborate with other people because there are a lot of leadership opportunities. And we also take care of, we get them to reflect so that when they lead for a purpose. Okay, not just to benefit themselves, not for CCA points and that sort of thing, but really to have a desire to serve the world. Okay, so the 3A framework also is something that we use inside our leadership programs, and we also provide care. We give choice and agency. So students go through like a cohort program. So I think all the programs that we have, and you see on the screen, there are 3 programs beside the NLP. One is called Global Perspectives. Another one is called Values in Action, and then we also have the student leadership program. So these 3 programs combine to develop a leader and to teach certain skills. So the GP program is unique to Swiss Cottage. It does not exist in any other school in Singapore. Okay, because this was designed by the teachers here, taking into consideration the kind of conversations that I think students would be good for students to have, so that they have an awareness of what's happening around them. Okay, and we start them off in set 1 and 2. Okay, so in set 3, of course, they have a subject called social studies, where they also look at global issues. Okay, but we start them off in set 1 and 2 But this thinking program is a little unique. It is also value-centric thinking program. Okay, so and then we have the values in action program to serve, right? So it's about the heart. So you have the head, the heart, and then the hands, which is finally leadership. Um, so I want to share a little bit about GP. Okay, and most of my discussion, I mean, today when we talk, will be about GP because it's unique to Swiss Cottage. The other two programs you will see similar patterns in other schools, but I'll touch on it briefly to say how we are doing it. And then if you're really keen on the details, you should really go in to the LLP room, okay, where our students will actually tell you what's happening themselves, okay, their own version of their experience. I think that will be better, okay, it'll be more unique and authentic. Okay, so we teach them ethical thinking, forward thinking, and global thinking in this particular GP. Now, GP is conducted every week, 1 hour a week within curriculum time, okay, in the lower set. And so what we do is we have unpacked the EFG into skills. You don't need to go into the details, just know that there are certain thinking skills that we teach. Okay, things like perspective taking, how to, that when every issue there are different people involved and they all have different opinions about the same thing, okay, that is happening. So it's very important for a leader to have that mindset. It's not just about what I think, but I really need to look at how it affects other people. So they do moral reasoning, okay, and that's also quite important because we want them to not only think about do something right only if I do something wrong, you're punished, right? So we want them to go beyond that. So there is a framework for reasoning in a moral way. Okay. Then we also have other things like positive self-talk. When you have challenges, how do you tell yourself to go on, and how to problem solve. We also look at questioning assumptions. Okay, if everybody is doing something, it doesn't always make it right. Okay, so they question the assumptions, and they also finally um, do cross-cultural communication skills because we need to know how to talk to people, right? Of another culture, maybe I need to adjust. If someone is older, I need to talk differently. If very much younger, I need to speak differently. So they learn these things. Okay, and so this curriculum has about 3 different topics that we do between set 1 to 2. And then when they move on to set 3, they will organize a conference. Okay, so the entire cohort is involved. Some will organize, the rest will all participate. Okay, so there's leadership opportunities here as well. But over here, they will actually look at 2 of the skills in more detail. Okay, so I'll give you some visual sense of what this looks like. It is actually in a classroom, that's the whiteboard. Okay, the students are doing a role play. They're asking one of the students who is supposed to be culturally different questions about what the person is wearing. But before they do that, they actually think about how do I frame a question such that when I ask the question, I don't come across as being insensitive. I'm curious, but I also need people to know that, I really respectfully want to know something about your culture, which I don't understand. Okay, because asking questions means we can get along later on. Okay, if I understand you. So this is a reflection on Padlet, okay, online. Okay, the students post the reflections. So the lessons go something like that. And then the conference, okay, so these are the students who are organizing the conference, okay, sitting with their teacher mentor at the side. Okay, so if the students are leaders or they volunteer to lead some of this particular activity, then in set 3 they will be organizing it for the whole level. Okay, and so this year we talked about food security. So these are the participants in the classroom when they are in set 3. They're actually advocating for food security, but they will speak about it and discuss it from the perspective of different stakeholders. Okay, they belong to this agency or that agency, and then they talk about their issues and problems. Okay, so the same thing, they also talked about digital citizenry, so it has to do with the social media, okay, the way we use the social media. So, and they present their views, and they have to get people to, persuade them to take their view, okay, of the issue. So there's a lot of research that they have to do, okay, in order to do this. For students who are like in the top 5 to 10% in every cohort, they actually, we run a talent development program within the GP unit. Okay, so they go for some of the external programs. So the one that I talked about, the conference is about local issues, right? But some of our students actually go on to join more international type of issues for problem solving and things like that. Basically, go for destination imagination. You can read up about some of this. Okay, future problem solving program. Okay, so these are external competitions with other schools. Okay, this is a student's reflection. Okay, so this is a student's reflection, right, on how she has developed her voice. Okay, other things are like, okay, values in action program that I mentioned earlier on. Okay, so the values in action program, this is one example. So in set 1 and 2, we do cohort program. So all the students go through this, usually after post-exam period. Okay, so they actually cleaning the toilets and things like that, giving our cleaners a break, okay, and also showing gratitude towards them. So they run through this, and you can see that this is another um, set of photographs from another part of the school. Okay, and this one is in upper sec. They then decide on their own project. How can I go and make a difference to someone who needs help, or how can I make positive change? And then they start their own project. This is in set 3. Okay, so this is not by the school. Um, so these are some examples of the things that our students have done. Okay, I want to end off with the last slide on leadership. Okay, so for leadership, our main thing is to provide as many opportunities as possible for students so that they can develop this. Okay, so it's not like we expect everybody to have the same level of leadership. Okay, the students, some are more ready than others, and so they will be provided opportunities that is calibrated, okay, that suits their readiness. Okay, so in our school we have about more than 1,000 possible leadership opportunities. We've created enough, okay, so that every child, if they are ready and willing, they can have a go at it. Okay, starting from leading some aspect of class, okay, of the class itself. Okay, so that's all. If you have any questions, you can ask us. Thank you.
Hey, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so if my sister isn't in the top 5 or 10% of the court, is there any other opportunities for her to like participate in all these like external competitions?
Okay, the external competitions, I think there are students who, if they're interested in a particular event, I think it's open to them.
Okay.
But every year, the people who are in the talent development program is renewed. And they can also, of course, those who don't want to can also drop out. Yeah. So there is some renewal.
Okay, I have another one.
Yes.
If let's say she's given a leadership opportunity, but then that opportunity doesn't directly translate to like the full maximum CCA points, which is like 2. Do you recommend doing like out of school opportunities like volunteering in the library or like old folks' homes, because that's very, you think it's very time consuming, or
If she, okay, basically when we talk about CCA points, we do track to see whether the students are getting their CCA points, but that's not the focus of the program. The focus of the program is really to get them to try to develop their disposition. So, if the child cannot, say, work together collaboratively, then we want to mentor and help the student. But having said that, the teachers are always ready and willing to find the opportunities for the
okay?
students. So that should not be an issue. How to become a science ambassador? Science ambassador. Or maker education.
Okay. To become science ambassador or maker education is very simple. You are passionate and you are dedicated, you're willing to spend time after school or some other days. Yeah. Because this is a tier 2 program. So, for example, for science ambassador, they are dealing more about science stuff, but also sustainability. Maker education is dealing more into technology, but also focus on sustainability. Yeah. So for maker education, we have recruitment where we will advertise to the sec ones. So during that period, if you are interested, you can just apply through the application process, and then you probably just answer some question, and then you just have a chit chat with you, and then you come. No requirement in terms of academic grades. Yes, except if you are science rep, it's auto enrolled into the science ambassadors. Yeah, because you are a science rep already, so you'll be auto enrolled into the science ambassador program. Yeah, so we open up various ways so that, for example, like, oh, I want to be science ambassador, but my teacher didn't select me to be a science rep, then how? So we thought about that, then we said, hey, then you still open if as long as you want to have a. So depends on the teacher. Some teachers feel that I just need one rep. Some teachers feel that I need two reps. Depends on the nature of the class. Yeah. So with the numbers and if you are a science rep, because as a science rep you already have a leadership point. Yeah. So when you become a science ambassadors, will you get the same leadership point? So as a science ambassador, you should get one level higher than just a science rep. So there's a difference. Yes, each student can hold for more than one position. Opportunities. Yeah, but usually if the student are spreading between two leadership position, um, it's a case by case where we have to discuss with the student whether they can manage. But as long as you are willing to help out, I think there's plenty of opportunities.
Can there be science ambassador and value makers at the same time? Can they take up more than one, doing more than one things in terms of subject?
In terms of the time.
In terms of the
Subject.
Because just now you mentioned you have mathematics, engineering,
Ah,
science.
so for maker education leaders, they are not like learning, oh, today they are learning mathematics. No, it's just we have courses more like skills. So for example, we teach them the 3D modeling software, and then they learn, practice it using the actual 3D printer to print out. Yeah, but they are not learning mathematics. But then we have a workshop where we invited this MAF, they are the aviation fellowship. So they came in, they will teach the student about planes, about aerodynamics. Then the pilots came, the actual pilot actually came and then shared them the experience of flying. Yeah, so they are learning those kind of things, not like sit down learning mathematics. Yeah. So
So
it's,
they can undertake only one subject.
it's not a subject.
Yeah, I mean like, how do you call that? I'm not sure.
ALP.
Swiss
They
ALP.
can only undertake one.
Maybe I address this, okay? So every school have the distinctive programs is really up to the school, right? So they're not subjects. The reason why we have something like that is to make each school unique. Every school a good school, right? So every school is unique. We base it on our student needs. What do you think? So in Swiss Cottage, for example, for leadership, we've had historically very good results in terms of like uniform group results. So these are all these from the CCA, right? The leadership. So we wanted to make that our focus.
Thank you everyone for your time to visit the school. We have now come to the end of Openhouse. We hope our lineup today has made an impact and helped you make an informed decision on your selection of secondary school of your choice. We hope to see you again in 2023. Swiss teachers and students, you may now pack up your work and display. Thank you for your efforts.
Okay. Don't worry, I'll answer your question. So these what we do is we try to fit it into our curriculum. So they are not, for example, examinable. Okay? So you don't sit for an exam. You actually go through the program and then there are certain outcomes to see whether students are learning. But what they learn may have an impact on other areas, right? Because they learn to collaborate. All this will impact even their subjects that they are taking. So it is actually useful for the child because when they go out to work, these are the skills that will be important. How to collaborate, how to think critically, how to ask questions, all that. So they get a lot of that kind of practice. I think even for science, we are really interested in how they apply the knowledge. I don't know, did I answer your question? Yeah, we can talk about it later. Okay, yeah. Any other questions? You asked about whether one child can take two ALP.
Okay, if I get, let me see, whether can your child be a science ambassador and at the same time a bigger education leaders? Yes, that's, the answer is yes. Yeah.
It's really whether the child wants to can cope.
Actually, we have quite a number of them. They are in both. Yes, because they are passionate in all of it. They are science, but also interested in the technology as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for coming.